Alright, today we're going to have a look at my 1991 Chevy S10 Tahoe pickup truck. So I bought this in 2010 from a guy here in my neighborhood that was currently working on it at that time. He was working on the tailgate, and unfortunately he stopped working on it because he got sick and became terminally ill. So he offered it to me in 2010 for $1,000 cash. It didn't have the canopy on it at that time. I would add that later. It did have a black bed liner and it looked really good. So when I bought this truck, it had these wheels on it, and I would not know until last year that these are actually 80 to 82 Corvette wheels. I was at a grocery store, and when I came out, a guy was standing checking out the truck, and he says to me, "Where'd you get the 82 Corvette wheels?" So anyway, I looked it up last year, and sure enough, they are 80 to 82 Corvette wheels. But they did not have the center caps on them. And when I got to looking at the wheels online, I realized there's a nice center cap that these wheels are missing. So I went ahead and ordered them last December when I was at home recovering from hernia surgery, and they just arrived a few days ago, April 25th of 2021. They finally arrived in the mail. So yesterday I put them on, and they look pretty good. They look pretty good indeed. They were a little difficult to get on. I had to hammer them on, and got them on there. They're aluminum, and hopefully they'll stay there and nobody will steal them. So there is absolutely nothing really special about this truck. It's been lowered down. It has blocks in the back, and I believe he turned the spindles over in the front. All the decals and trim has been removed, and it has a custom tailgate on it, which I wrecked. Other than that, this is just an ordinary truck. I believe it has the original motor and transmission in it. It's not slammed by any means or anything special like that. So let's have a good close look at this truck. So obviously I'm near a railroad, and the front of this truck I think looks really cool. I think that grill work is the best that they did. The bumper has had the trim removed, so it's just all chrome. It's got the air dam down below, and you can see that there's a screen over the grill, and that is from a bra. The first year I had this, I bought the bra for it, and it looked really cool on there, but it didn't weather very good, and after a few years I had to take it off. But I went ahead and left that piece in the front over the grill. It's a nice little screen. It kind of makes the grill look dark, and it just makes it look good, I think. So I can find no evidence that this truck has ever been in a wreck, but the bumper on the passenger side has been pushed in a little bit. You can probably see that there just below the tail light, or the headlight, pardon me. And there's a bit of a crease in the bumper just left of the license plate. So I think it got kind of hit in the front, or they hit something, and it pushed the bumper into the fender. You can see it right there. The bumper has been just slightly tapped into the fender, but I believe that could all be just pulled out. When we look at the driver's side of the front bumper, it looks pretty normal over there. So I think this is where the bumper bent right there. You can see that little bit of a crease, and that's where it got pushed in. All fixable by somebody that knows what they're doing. So the passenger side of this truck is very clean. All the lines match up really good. It does have some issues with wax, and that's really no problem at all. It's all kind of peeling off there, some sort of a coating. But I was always planning to have this truck repainted, so that is no big deal. We got a slight bit of damage here on the hood, but the lines match up pretty good, and that's a GoPro camera mount that I mounted on there. And on the passenger side of the hood, surprisingly the same amount of damage there. So I don't know what that's from. Somebody had it tied up in the air or something, but the lines all match pretty good. So the paint on this old truck is pretty worn out. I don't know if it's original paint or not. It looks like it might be, The driver's side of this truck is very straight and true. There is virtually no rust in this thing at all, except just a little bit in the back of the bed. So I'd have to say the worst part of this truck are the doors. Both the driver's door and the passenger door have some problems. So when you roll down the window on each side, it wants to do that, so you got to help the window down. I'm told that there's a clip missing. You should be able to see the hole in the back of the window near the top. Apparently there's a clip that's supposed to go in there, and both the windows are like that. They just don't want to go up and down very well. I have that same window problem with the driver's door. So I've had to replace the outside door handle on the driver's side several times. This is going to be the third time that I'm going to have to replace it. Somebody's already replaced the upper and lower pins in the driver's door hinges, so they actually work pretty good. So I think the interior is all original. It's got the bench seat in it. It looks like it's all original from the factory. It's got these nice genuine GM floor mats in it. The carpet's worn, but it's all in one piece. The dash pad, of course, is pretty cracked and broken, but it's all there. And I did have to put a new steering wheel on it. The old one was a little too big for me, and it was missing all the horn parts to it. So the horn doesn't work, so I added a switch down here and a new harness to it, so the horn does work by push button. So we got a 5-speed manual transmission there. It didn't have a radio in it at all, so I built that fancy little thing with some gauges, which just won't work with this truck, unfortunately, but they look pretty good. And I got an extra cigarette lighter. We got a factory, I would assume, back window with a sliding door. That door looks like it's been changed at some point. And of course, the factory sunroof. It's a little loose, but it does work. It will seal up and it doesn't leak. It's very nice to have a sunroof. So I bought this canopy 4 or 5 years ago, paid 40 bucks for it. It was already sitting on an S10, so I knew what it would look like. It doesn't fit really well, but it fits okay. But it is designed for an S10 or a Nissan pickup, and of course it doesn't match the cab. Somebody had put lights on it, so I sealed those up with JB Weld and then painted it. And I put a gunny puck on it because I used to be into CBs pretty big, but I'm really not anymore. So the canopy is okay. So I like having the canopy on there, even though it doesn't really look all that good on there. I like that I can securely lock stuff up back here. Got a spare tire in there and a jack and some other stuff and tools and whatnot. So the canopy is held on by 4 bolts and 4 clamps. Could easily be removed. A couple of guys could have that thing off there in 10 minutes, and then you're right back to just a truck. And now we get to the custom tailgate on this truck. He had not quite finished it when I bought this thing from him. He had it painted red originally, but it needed a lot of sanding and stuff, and the roll pan was basically just sitting there, but it really needed a lot of work to make it look halfway decent. So I resanded the tailgate down and the roll pan and got them working fairly decently. The roll pan doesn't really fit very well, unfortunately, but the tailgate's very nice. And that's what the tailgate looks like on the inside. We now have the release there in the middle down below, so it works. It's secure, and it looks pretty good, except for the fact that it's got a big dent in it because I backed into my lady friend's SUV last year and put a great big dent in it. So you can see the line of it is not quite right, but it could be pulled out. But not by me, I don't do that kind of stuff. And I also had to replace that tail light, so I replaced both of them. So I got new tail lights in the back. And now finally a look under the hood. It looks pretty original under here. It's got power brakes. It has metal wheel wells, which I was kind of surprised about. I have replaced the windshield wiper motor. I've replaced the alternator. It has a new water pump on it, and I've replaced the starter on it. And of course the battery. I've had 2 batteries for it since I've owned it. So replacing that starter down there was a real pain, because you got to jack this lowered truck up quite a bit to get underneath there, and it's difficult to have to deal with. And fortunately it's not an automatic, because if it was, you would have to deal with the transmission coolant lines as well, trying to get that starter in and out. That's not a job I ever look forward to again. This thing runs really great. It's a little dirty, of course. This truck has about 170,000 miles on it, so it's still got a lot of life in this motor. Looking at the information here, it says it's a 2.8 liter, and it also says it's a 1990 General Motors Corporation. And it is true, when you buy parts for this, you do have to buy 1990 parts. So that's what makes me think that is the original motor in there. We got power steering, and we also have a squeak up here that's just developed over the last month or so. And I believe it is the pulley for the serpentine belt. Sounds like that's where it's coming from. So probably have to be replacing that pretty soon. So that's a tour of my 1991 Chevy S10 Tahoe. Really a nice truck. I think it looks good and it drives pretty good. And you know, I like driving it. It's got a lot of power. It gets a lot of looks, and I'll just hang on to it for a while. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe, and comment down below if you've got an old first generation Chevy S10 Tahoe like this. Thanks for watching.